voice every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the incredible Delorn Smith. He is a loan advisor at Nexa Mortgage. Thank you so much for joining us, and I cannot wait to hear all of your tips and tricks and wisdom. So we like to kick it off on our podcast with the very first question being, we go through life and we're always learning lessons. We're listening to people's advice. We're reading. We're, interacting with our clients and our partners. And during this time, we're taking little tidbits. And I'd love for our first question, can you share with us, what is a piece of advice or something you've learned that you really took to heart and have applied to how you create your life?
Well, it was something my father had said to me when I was really young that I didn't listen to. And he said, just live your life to the fullest and don't let things that you want change the way you live. And I didn't really quite understand it then, but basically what he meant to me was, just don't overspend, don't overdo something that you can't handle, that you can't maintain. And my father's pretty stable. He's just, one job, been married. He doesn't change too much, and that's kind of how he lives his life. And I kind of, as I gotten older, I realized that, yeah, I see a lot of customers do a lot of things that overstretch their lives, and then they get into these problems and they get in these troubles, and then their credit falls or their marriage disrupts, or they run into issues where if you just keep it calm and you maintain what you've been doing and you love what you've been doing, it's all going to work out. It just works out, Trust in God is what I say, really, that's
Wow.
about it.
Well, number one, kudos to that brilliant father of yours. That is great advice, and I can appreciate that. When we're younger, we can't really understand what that truly means. I think we have to learn that over time and maturity. But what you just said of the perspective of us in the mortgage business, we do see a lot of things, right? I mean, I always say it's like people opening up the kimono, right? Where meaning you see their bank accounts, you see their credit, you see their job history, you see everything about these people's lives, right? And I know for myself, I'm like the first person, I'll give you an example. Like every time you go to a store and they're like, oh, you could save X on a credit card. And I literally am like, no credit cards. I'm like, I'm in the mortgage business. I've seen an awful lot, right? So you stay away from things like that, right? So, okay, you learned this lesson. You see by being able to help so many families and guide them and being an advisor to these families, how have you taken that advice and applied that to how you're being an advisor to your clients?
Actually, I'm glad you asked that question. That is a good question because I take it to heart. I love doing what I do. When I look at a credit report, basically, I can read your whole life. I mean, your whole life is right there. What you've been doing, what issues have you gone through? Just two recent customers that I have is they were turned down by other lenders because they just didn't know how to work the file. And so what I do is I work the file and then I prepare them. I tell them, look, I don't want you just to buy the house. I need you to be in this house for 36 months. Okay. That's what I need you to do. So you've got this credit card. It's maxed up. Once you buy this house, it's not a bad thing to get other credit because we're going to utilize the available credit to increase your score and maybe do balance transfer. So I work with, after they buy the house, I teach them, okay, we're going to do a balance transfer on this 29% interest card you have, and we're going to move that over to a 0%. And, and that's going to help you free up some income and live your life because now you've got a rental property. Usually with this particular client, she couldn't sell her property. We had to turn it to a rental, but
Okay.
she had to move into another. She wanted to move in her property. It was her want, and I'm here to give you what you want, but let's make sure it is stable. Let's make sure you can maintain it. And I'll go over what her future income, not income, but what her future payments are going to be, how long it's going to take her to get comfortable with what she has. Um, I think that's real important to have that initial conversation with the customer, not just to sell them a home, but to make sure they maintain that home over the lifetime. And I've done that with a couple other, and that's where actually 90% of my business comes from.
I love it.
Periodically, I work with realtors, but realtors want me to do their loans because I've helped them out on other stuff. Okay. And their regular lender, who's great, oh, I can't do that. We don't offer that. With Nexa, I offer anything. There's nothing I
Yeah.
can't do if it's a dwelling loan. And that's what I love about working with Nexa. That's not what we're talking about, but I love having the conversations with the client because they will tell you everything you need to know, and you match it up with the credit report, and then you try to make sure you're building them. You want to build the client because that will help build you, I think.
So let me ask you a question, and I love, and again, you and I spoke before we hit record that you are an advisor, right?
Yeah.
And clearly from what you just said, you're an advisor. So let me ask you, it sounds like you get the full picture, you make an evaluation, right? You set forth a plan, you communicate this plan and kind of get them on this road, right, that you're taking them on. What is your, because this is sometimes I see in our industry, people don't follow through after they close a loan, right? They kind of help that family and that's it and have a good life. But it sounds to me like you have them on this plan, this communication. So I'd love to hear, what is your follow-up after you've gotten them into that home? Because you mentioned that next 36 months, right? Like kind of going through and not just getting them that mortgage and getting them into the home, but what's next? So what is your follow-up to that?
Well, again, based on my experience, I'll follow up with them, the month, the 6 months, the year. I will go through that. And I have little notes on every client, in a folder on every client, and I'll just ask them how they're doing. Because honestly, clients will sabotage themselves and their wants take over what they need to maintain. And I'll just kind of remind them, oh, Dee, thanks for reminding me. I needed to do that. I needed to call my sister and make up to her for all the other stuff that I did because, just certain things. Um, the follow up being personable with
Yeah,
them and reminding them what we talked about because I'll just keep the notes and
yeah,
just kind of reminding them what we talked about when they were going through the emotion of
yeah.
buying a home because that's emotional.
It
And we
is.
talked about getting their puzzle pieces together. So that's what I say. I say, look, I'm here to put your housing puzzle together, and the house is the box. So not
Yeah,
every loan,
that's
just because the guy at the barbershop told you this, doesn't mean that's how your loan is going to work because he's different than you, and he's still at the barbershop.
yep.
You're not.
So wait,
Okay.
I gotta ask you this question now because you know what you're speaking about and using the example of the barbershop, and we've all been there, right? We've all been. Oh, actually, I'll give the example. The worst time in the mortgage industry is Thanksgiving. You want to know why? Because all of our customers come together and start having conversations with Uncle Bob and Auntie
With
Sue, and
right.
everybody's got
Yeah.
an opinion, right?
Right.
So whenever you get people, having these conversations, so I want to ask you a question about here we are. We're in 2025. We all every day hear more and more about AI. And of course, we're all using one version of AI or another, right? I as you're speaking, I'm picturing in my brain, this is why the human factor is so important.
Mhm.
Because that puzzle piece, yes, AI 100%, we should use our tools and we should be efficient and we should be able to do more, But the puzzle piece, so many times, that relationship and that human factor is so vital. So I'd love to hear, what are your thoughts on that part of it?
Well, that's again, I joined Nexa because I was running into issues with the retail business, and they have all these great ideas, but there's nobody to implement those ideas. So I love AI with Nexa and how we integrate everything, and we Zapier hook it, and
Yep.
this C-arm and that C. I mean, it's just so much going on, and you can get a loan done faster, easier, and cheaper. I mean, I I just finished a loan in 5 days.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean, so you can do a loan faster and easier and cheaper, but shaping the puzzle piece, again, this is, I'm talking to my clients. Hey, this is your puzzle piece. We need to shape it. We need to trim a little bit here. I need you to, I tell them, I'm not a credit fixer. I don't fix your credit. What I'm going to do is if you got $10,000, I'm going to tell you to put 3,000 of that strategically on this credit card, and we're just going to shape them down, maybe build your score up. We're going to, uh, I have one client right now that I told him, look, we got to start all over from brand new fresh. He's got an investment property, his renter's late, he's looking to refinance another investment property, but his paperwork isn't right. His paperwork isn't right, and it's not his fault. It's
Right.
his client's fault. It's his tenant's fault because his tenant didn't do what was instructed, and it just looks messy.
Hmm.
So my ego in this business, because I love this business, is to make sure I turn in clean files. My files close. That's my mentality.
Love it.
This file is going to close. And I'm going to make it close. And so with him, we're just gonna we talked about different strategies, what we're gonna do, but actually ultimately we're gonna start over. We're gonna start fresh. We're gonna get his client right and to follow orders, and therefore um, we're going to stay in compliance. Most importantly, we're going to stay compliant, but we're going to make sure our paperwork matches up. Make sure our
Perfect.
paper matches up with the file that we need, and
Perfect.
then we can move forward. And
Love it.
that's just
Makes
yeah.
sense. So now,
That was my
listen,
call this morning.
you, so you have said two times now since we've been together in this short time, I love our business. I love the mortgage business, which you and I are on the same page. I absolutely love this business. Could never, ever see me doing anything other than this business. So I want to go back a step, okay? Because, as part of this podcast, I always say that I want to share many different perspectives and allow people to be able to resonate with different people, right? So right now you're speaking to those people out there that love this industry and understands how important we are in the time that we're sharing with making dreams come true, right? We're making dreams come
Right.
true and helping these families. So I want to go back a step, and I'd love for you to share. I'd like to call it our origin story. How did you come into this business? Because from someone that loves this business, and I love hearing that, go back a step. Tell us, how did you get here? What's the journey?
Oh man, my journey started in after college in '92. So the journey was back in the day in the '90s. You didn't have to be licensed. And so, I mean, I was in the car business. I was a finance manager, and I would say to people, hey, you can write this off. You want to buy a car, you can't afford it. I'm going to show you how you can afford it. And I would collect packages and turn them over to my buddy, and they were just refis. And I saw a lot of terrible things that were happening, so I went to work at the bank, and I worked for Bank South Nations Bank, and couldn't afford it. And so I left that, but I learned and I liked the numbers. I went back into the car business as a manager, and I would structure deals. So I'm structuring how these things happen, and people coming in and they're like, "Yeah, we're looking to buy a house," and I'm like, "Well, maybe you shouldn't buy this car right now." And so that was one of the reasons why I got out of the car business, was because it was a detriment to people. So
Mm.
when I look at the mortgage business and I hear people say, "Oh, we didn't close, and I did all this work, and then loan officers didn't do this," um, I noticed that a lot of loan officers just collect apps. They're just app takers. I am so glad in 2010 we had licensing because that got rid of all the junk and all the fraud. Then we come into now, um, and between 2020 and 2023, business was fantastic and everybody was doing it and blah blah blah. But they didn't have any experience because they would just take the app, hand it off to the processor, hand it off to somebody else, and hand it off to somebody else and collect more apps. Great salespeople, I love them. But if you mess up, the only finger you can point is the thumb. You can't point the finger at anybody else because it's your fault. And you have to be able to close the loan. It's not just taking it to the table, but making sure your title docs are right, your insurance is right, not relying on somebody else. Oh, they missed it. Now I got to go back and clean it up. No, you should have had it cleaned up beforehand. And so that was pretty frustrating. And I saw a lot of that. And I saw a lot of people losing. I mean, they were losing. They invested their time, their energy, and their money, and now they're not getting a house. And now pretty much some of them are living in hotels. I mean, I've had clients that I've had to get them out of the hotel. Took me a couple months, but because the loan officer messed up
Oh, wow.
and they have no place to live.
Yeah.
So I treat it passionately as fact as if I mess up, this person's homeless.
Yeah.
Or two people are homeless
Right.
because one loan is contingent on another loan,
Right.
contingent on. I mean, it's crazy, and it was frustrating to watch. And so I was like, I know I'm better than this. So I mean, I left the business to raise my family, and then came back into it.
Got it.
And that was the reason I came back, was because I was seeing people that had the ability, that had the passion to buy the house, but no one was putting in the work to get them done. So my business today is really built on the fact. I mean, I'll use an example. This particular client that I use, that I work with, she has sent me 10 clients that have
Right.
closed.
Yeah.
But the reason she sent me 10 clients was because she went to a lender. She went to 4 lenders. They all turned her down, all of them. And so they found me by accident.
Right.
The agent found me by accident, called me up and says, okay, yeah, I can do this. This is what I need you to do. Yes, you have to have the hard conversations. I need $50,000.
Right.
That's the hard conversation. You got to tell them up front.
Yeah.
Don't wait till the end.
No.
I need $50,000. This is what you're going to need to do. This is what
Yep.
you're going to need to pay off. Oh, are you sure I can't do that? Yes, you can. Just keep encouraging them. Go to work. This is how we're going to get it done. And we closed. We closed on time. The agent was like, "Oh, wow, this is great." I sent him to 4 other people, and 4 other people couldn't get him done. Come the same client, 3 years later, because they wanted a $450,000 house at the time.
Right.
And I says, well, you can only get a $300,000 house, and that's it. Well, I don't want that. Well, this is what we're going to do. So that's what they did. And they had to put $50,000 to get it. Okay. But 3 years later, they're like, okay, they went to actually somebody else to try to get approved. And they went, and then they did it again, went to 2 or 3 other people, to somebody else, try to get approved. And she's like, look, let me just call up D. Let's see what he can do. Boom, boom, bash. I got him closed on time. And the thing is the loan officers won't put the extra work in. Be it, maybe I should or should not say that, but you have a pre-judgment or pre-categorization of certain people when they come in. Oh, I'm not going to do that work. That's going to take too much time. I don't want to do that. They don't have an 800 or 721 credit score. I'm not helping them. They're a 620. I don't want to help them. I don't have time to do that. And a lot of clients were getting just pushed to the wayside.
Wow.
Because you have to set them up. You have to prepare them, and you have to talk with them about their experience.
Yep.
If you can talk with a client about their own experience and keep them talking,
That's
just
right.
keep the client talking.
Just
That's
keep
it. Just like
asking the
me.
questions and keep them engaged. That's exactly
That's
right.
it. And you can find out what their need is, what their
Yep.
pain point is, and work on that to get them. And then they'll start to work with you.
And
You know?
circle them back to the end goal. Like, you have to keep reminding them why they're doing it.
Right.
And I got to tell you,
Right.
as you're speaking, I equate the mortgage business a lot of time to the healthcare business, right? And I always think to myself, what you're saying is, be the specialist, right? Don't just be the generalist, that kind of, hands out here, take a pill, you'll feel better. You know, be the
Right.
specialist that actually says, listen, I'm going to give you the hard facts here. If we don't get you on an exercise plan and have you eating better or whatever you got to do, you're going to have a heart attack, right? Like you're not
Right.
going to be around. But
Right.
if we do this and we do this, we do this, you're going to have a nice long life to see your great grandchildren, right? Like it's kind of the same type of thing, but so many times people are like, "Oh, take the quick fix," right?
Right.
And if it happens, whatever. But you're
Right.
saying no. I care about these people. I'm going to be as invested in this as they are. Now, if they're not vested in it, if they're not willing
Right.
to do the exercise or willing to change the diet, well, then you can't make anyone go and get the 50,000, right? Like you
Right.
can't. But if they are lined up that this is it, we're doing this, right? We're going to pay the credit cards down. We're going to, whatever we need to do, we're going to do it. And if you're in it, I'm in it. That's what you're
Right.
saying, right? You're
Yes.
saying I'm in it with you.
Right.
And I got to tell you, now I understand why you love the industry so much, because you love it because you see the positive outcome that can come when you are that vested. And congratulations for continuing that, and don't stop. Don't stop. Don't change that. No matter what, I don't care what year we're in. I don't care what AI is out there. This is the part that why loan officers are so important, why mortgage advisors are so vital to the process. All right. As we wrap up, and this has been amazing, and thank you so much for sharing your insights. We always end with, I like to call it my magic wand, that I believe that all of us have some kind of aspiration that we want to see in the world. It can be something personal or business, whatever you choose. But if I had this magic wand that literally could take away any limitation of something being achieved, what would you do? What would be that thing that if you knew you couldn't fail, you knew you could accomplish it, what would that be?
I just want people to, I mean, that's a tough question. Again,
It's
like I said,
big.
it is. It's big. Actually, I think knowledge and reading is important. I think once you start reading, you understand what could I do. I would just want people to open their minds a little bit more. I want them to think more about possibilities, but to keep it in perspective. Keep your life in perspective. I mean, I'm a God-fearing individual. I'm a Christian, and I have conversations with people about that drive is good, that ambition is good, but if it takes you someplace you're not where you shouldn't be, which it can, understand why. And don't fear it. You can still go for it. Don't fear it, but understand it. If you can understand your fear, then it's not fear anymore.
True.
Then you're going to conquer it. Um, there is no magic wand to me.
There is
There is no
not.
magic wand. Yeah. So you can't fix everybody. And
No,
you
you
and
cannot.
I've right. So I've had to come to that realization. Life is a game. That's the biggest thing. People need to understand life is a game. Money's not real. Credit is.
Oh,
Because
right,
credit is
right there. I
character.
think that's the mic drop right there. Money
Yeah.
is not real. Credit is.
Yeah. Because
Wow,
credit goes anywhere. I mean,
it
that's
does.
power when in your job and your people that's character, that's integrity. That's what they're looking at. That's the currency. I teach my kids about currency. Currency isn't always money. Currency is what you're doing. What you're doing in the dark is going to come to light. We're going to catch you, little girl, my daughters. But yeah.
Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I thank you for sharing your insights. Keep shining bright and continuing to light the way for so many others. And we wish you all the best always.
Thank you for having me, Laura. This was interesting. This was new. I appreciate it.
Thank you for
Okay.
saying yes.